Okay, good morning and welcome back to my DIY solar panel and lithium battery project. It is time to start working on the little testing station here that I built for my batteries to test out batteries and little gadgets and things like that. So right now the battery cycling is going on. It's been happening for a couple of weeks now. It's a slow process, but I'm more than halfway done. It's actually going a lot faster than I thought, so that's all going good. Haven't found any bad cells yet, except the green 18650 batteries that the voltage was dropping. But they've been sitting for about almost 2 weeks now, and I haven't tested them yet. But I would imagine they're going to drop even more in voltage, and maybe those were the problem. I don't know. So for now, we're going to get started on this. This is my little testing station. I built this specifically, like I said, I want to test out little gadgets like this wonderful little volt and amp meter. It has a shunt. I did figure out how to make it work, but I still wanted to experiment with it more. Having it just sitting here like this isn't really what I want to do, but I couldn't figure out a way really until recently of how to actually mount this kind of in a permanent way so it's actually usable and kind of out of the way. I came up with a really good idea just a couple of days ago. And what it's going to involve is this piece of wood that you see I mounted right here. I actually glued that to that piece of wood. And now I've got a great idea as to how I can support this thing, get it mounted kind of cleanly so I can actually use it in a cool way. And I'm just going to actually just go ahead and slap this together. Shouldn't take too long to do what I want to do, and then we'll come back and look at that and see what you think. So the battery bank originally that I've already tossed out, mounted right here. We're going to change all that. Here I've got a failed what I thought was a balancing board. It really isn't. I looked at the spec sheet on it after I bought it, and it doesn't say anything about balancing. It's a BMS is what it is. And if it's not going to balance my cells, and I couldn't make it work with this system, all it's going to do is exactly what the charge controller will do. So apparently this is something that's not going to work out for me. I'll keep it around, but I don't plan to wire that back in. And I'm also going to get rid of all this load stuff that I had in this coffee can. It's just a whole bunch of 12 volt stuff. It actually worked pretty good, but it's pretty bad here. You see I got the old mirror light out of my truck. There's an old oil pressure gauge with a light I got hooked up. Here's a license plate light that I got hooked up, and then these are actually tail lights that it's just all thrown in here. It's really a very, very unclean mess, but it worked as a load. It pulled quite a few amps through this gauge, and I was able to do some testing. But we're going to get rid of this, and I might keep some of this stuff as a load, but I'm going to mount it and straighten it out so it's a whole lot cleaner. No more coffee can. So let's go ahead and get started on this, and we'll come back and look at the idea I had. Okay, before we look at the newly mostly rebuilt testing station, let's have a little battery update here. I have been cycling batteries for the last couple of weeks. If you remember, this box was more than halfway full. All those batteries are out of there now and have been cycled. I just did the last one yesterday. So, and I have what's made this thing go so well, and I'm way ahead of schedule, is the fact that I discharged using the iMacs. Those two were just discharged. As you can see, I've been writing them down and then putting them on the battery. And this finished overnight. These cells just finished charging. So I need to test them out with the multimeter, which we're going to talk about that lovely thing here eventually. And then I just charge them up in here. So let's, we got a green light there, stick that in there. There we go, now we got a red light. So probably takes about 4 hours for these things to charge up using this little handy little thing. In the meantime, I put another cell on the iMax and away we go. So now it's time to get the big battery box out and kind of go through that, and there's more cells in there that need to be cycled. Okay, I got the big wooden box out here. As you can see, it is still pretty much intact as it was a few weeks ago. We got the cells here from November that are fully cycled. These have been cycled. These are the first ones I cycled. And then in here, I got my list says these are all fully charged but need cycled. So I'm going to pull these out and put the other cycled ones in here. Alright, there we go. I have arranged my cells the way I want them. I've now got the November cells here in the front. And then these here were the first batch that I did. This was the second batch that I've been working on this week. And that's it. So the ones that weren't cycled, that were just sitting in here resting comfortably, they are now out here on the counter and they are going to be cycled next. So I also got these handy little boxes. I get these from my workplace. We get products in these and then we just throw them away. And I got to looking at these a couple weeks ago, actually a week ago, and I thought, you know, those look just handy to be putting in the bottom of my box here. And you know, they fit perfectly. As you can see, I got 3 of them in there. The fourth one, it's kind of a tight fit, but it will go right in there, and there I am, presto. It's just like they were made for the box. So very, very cool the way that worked out. So taking advantage of those boxes. So anyway, we'll continue on cycling. Right now I've got these separated by date. Oldest, next, this, and then finally the newest ones here. I want to keep them separated by date for now, but ultimately the date won't matter whatsoever. What'll be important is the milliamp hour that I'm writing down on those ultimately, but I want them to set. I want these just to sit for weeks and weeks, if not well into a month. And then I'll start fooling with the oldest ones, and eventually when I'm putting my pack together, but there's a lot of work to do before that. Okay, cycling continues on with the cells. Here's the 2 that just came out of the charger. And here's my box of cells that have been sitting for several weeks. I test each one with the multimeter before I put it on the iMax to make sure that it hasn't lost any voltage. I haven't found any yet that have. So somewhere there's some that are causing some issues, but this is how you figure it out. So I would estimate I have got enough cells there to take me right up into the end of the year, right about New Year's. I should be done right about that area. All right, it is time to now move on to the testing station.